features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning and... No, it's not morning. Gosh, I've made it... Can we start this again? Let's pretend. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 1. Live. There we go. Good afternoon and welcome to the Sunset Safari today, here from Juma in the Sabi Sands in the western parts of the Kruger National Park. I'm looking like this because there's an insect standing on my hat. There, it has gone away. My name is James Henry. On camera today we've got Batters with his very fast thumb, and we've begun our drive with two bird species. The helmeted guinea fowl and the red-billed buffalo weaver. There it is. Hello, red-billed buffalo weaver. It is 32 degrees Celsius or so, 89 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty warm. There is a breeze blowing from the east, which is a bit odd. But I'm sure it will turn to the more conventional northwester by the end of the drive. And you are welcome to talk to us. Indeed, you are encouraged to talk to us. Indeed, you must talk to us. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm wobbling about. The cameraman's telling me to sit still. I shall sit still now so that the birds don't wobble. What I was trying to say to you before I was tapped on the back of the head by Batters is that we would like to hear from you, please, using the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Otherwise, you can use the chat stream on YouTube. I must be told every so often to sit still when they are, as they say, on the end of the lens at full zoom. Now, there's guinea fowl of foraging. Tough times for the birds. Not much to eat. Guinea fowl, much like chickens, will eat worms and seeds if they can find them, and the odd termite and ant. I'm sure they eat a lot of ants at this time of the year. And there is a beautiful lilac-breasted roller that is trying desperately to catch probably butterflies, maybe. I did see a guinea fowl butterfly actually around there earlier today. I was wandering about just around there. Beautiful colours. All of them looking forward to the coming summer, but they're going to have to wait a lot longer because always I find as soon as it gets warm we think, well, the rainy season's around the corner. But of course it isn't for the next 60 days or so, I wouldn't think. Which is going to be quite a long time for all of these creatures here to survive in the heat of the very dry, hot season. I'm often asked, of course, oh, no, let's go across to Tristan. He's got quite a nice plan for this afternoon. My plan is to head down and see what the lions are doing and then move on to find something slightly more active until the evening starts.
Well, good luck, James. Hopefully you will find very active animals that are doing all kinds of things, maybe even some backflips for you to brighten up your day. Not that he needs brightening up, it's a very sunny day. As James mentioned, my name's Tristan. On camera I've got David this afternoon, which is always quite nice to have along with. David, it's been a while, hasn't it?
Far too long.
Yes, far too long. So it would be nice to have David with me once again this afternoon. As James said, we're going to try and see if we can find something that would hunt these guys. So we're going to go try follow up on Tundi and see if she's managed to find Kalamba again and see maybe if Sausage 2.0, aka Hosanna, and I call him Sausage 2.0 because the nickname for Tingana is the sausage in camp, and because generally when you find Tingana there's this big round belly with these four little toothpicks that stick out as legs and then a toothpick out as a tail, so he kind of looks sausage like, and Hosanna's taking after his dad these days and eats himself into oblivion, and then he also gets quite rotund and round, and so that's who we're going to go look for this afternoon. We're going to see what happened from this morning. We stayed with Tundi for about another half an hour or so, and she eventually went to sleep on the termite mound. She just kind of lay down on the termite mound and fell asleep, wasn't calling much, and she seemed very relaxed by the time we left, and the fact that she wasn't calling and was sleeping kind of led me to believe that everything should be okay and that we didn't have to worry too much and that I would come back in the afternoon. So hopefully she has found Kalamba now by this afternoon. It's going to be a tricky block to find them if she's not lying where we left her, which is in all likelihood probably going to be the case because there won't be much food left, but we'll hope that maybe, just maybe, she's still settled somewhere there because they had full bellies and maybe one of them will still be around. So that's the plan. You know, impalas look very relaxed. They're not far from where we had Tundi and Rossana this morning. It's just north of us in the drainage line. I'm going to take a different route. I normally go off Gowrie Cut Line, but today I've decided it's time for a slightly different route. We're going to go and see... Oh, sorry, Mr. Impala, I did not see you there. Sorry, everybody. Yes, I know, sorry. Disturbing the afternoon's parade. I do apologize. Good day. Hello. There we go. Right. Now that we've gone through and decided to kind of not disturb the impalas too much, it sounds like James has managed to find one of the animals that he was looking for, and I wonder if it's the one that paid me a visit at Ingers during the course of today.
It is exactly that one, we think. We watched it come out of the gate. It picked up a tree and disappeared with the tree. It is in fact quite close to us. There, it's now moving. You can see a large elephant bull moving through the grey, dry bush. We'll just roll gently down the hill after him. He doesn't look very happy with life, I must say. He looks a bit irritated. Maybe he's in must. He'll cross the road in front of us shortly. And we'll either just keep going or he'll give us a little, how's your father? No, we're just going to keep going. He's a big fellow, probably about 30 years old, 35 maybe. Hello? Where are you going? Put your tail down, we don't mean you any harm. There he wanders. I'd quite like to follow him, but I'm not going to chase him through there. There's a lot of thick bush. We'll make a big noise behind him, and I think he just looks like he's on the mission to go somewhere and doesn't really want to be disturbed. And you get that vibe from elephants. They sometimes give you the impression that they're very happy to be around you, and this one is doing the exact opposite. He's had his drink, but where he would be going now, I'm not sure. But he certainly seemed to start moving as we came along. Isn't it amazing how he just disappears through the bush there? I do think it's amazingly efficient of his camouflage. Elsa, I've never read or heard anything about this, but it's possible that elephants do not get cancer. I think you'll find that cancer is very rare in all animals out here. It does happen from time to time. But cancer, of course, is largely a disease of our lifestyles. And the fact that there are thousands of causes for cancers. And I think many of them can probably be put down to the way we live. We eat rubbish, we live stressed lives, and we live in very unhealthy conditions. And if you look back at Stone Age human beings, for example, or Stone Age societies even to this day, that have not gone on to live in modern westernized ways, you'll find that they have almost negligible cancer existence as well. So although most certainly some human beings are genetically predisposed to getting various kinds of cancers, the environmental triggers that eventually make them get those cancers don't exist in social groupings or in societies like the Stone Age ones, and in many respects that's how the animals live out here as they evolved to live. And so disease generally, of just about all kinds, far less prevalent out in these wilderness areas than it would be in claustrophobic human societies with pollution and bad food and stress. Or chronic stress, should I say. So I don't know if elephants are absolutely immune. I feel somewhere in the dim recesses of my memory there's something going bing, bing, which says that I've either been asked exactly what you've just asked me, or I've been told or read something about it, but I cannot remember it, I'm afraid. I'm not sure how they'd know that either. I always find it quite interesting that pets, human pets, often get cancers. And it's I'm sure something to do with the inbreeding that goes with breeds of dogs and cats. But I do find it interesting that when we have brought them into our hectic human lives and we feed them foods that they did not evolve to eat, suddenly they too succumb to these really nasty diseases that we as humans suffer from, and are really no closer to, well, I don't know if we're no closer, but we're certainly very ineffective at curing and looking after. Despite all our advances and how advanced we think we are as a society. Quite a nice sort of, on a totally different subject, slightly more cheerful subject, because of course that's a rather miserable subject. The picture you're looking at there has basically got three colours in it. It's got a little bit of blue, just a touch. It's got some grey, and then it's got a little bit of golden brown on those leaves. And it really is astounding how, I suppose from a minimalist's point of view, it's very attractive. I quite like the combination of colours there, the light blue, the grey and the copper brown. But in summer, this exact same picture would be 1,000 shades of green. I suppose there's a touch, and there's almost no green in that picture at all. There's a little bit on that silver cluster leaf that hasn't lost all its leaves yet. But otherwise, it is entirely grey, slightly blue, with a little bit of golden or copper brown, which is quite nice, isn't it? Justin, I think it depends entirely on the elephant. A china shop, of course, not an ideal place for a bull or an elephant. Elephants have more difficulty turning round than bulls do, but they're quite agile and they're not always angry. And so if you had a particularly sedate bull, perhaps like this one on a good day, he might be able to navigate the complexities of a china shop without breaking anything in a way that a bull wouldn't. You know, a bull, of course, has got hard hooves, finds it difficult not to slip, so it would depend on the floor that the china shop had. Elephant, soft pad underneath the feet, probably better at holding on or keeping purchase on a tiled floor, if it was tiles, or polished wood. So really there are a lot of variables, Justin, in your question, and difficult to answer whether an elephant would be better than a bull. It really does depend on which bull, which elephant, which china shop, and specifically which flooring has been used in the china shop before one could comprehensively answer the question. I hope that makes sense. Thank you, Justin. I'm glad you appreciated my answer to your elephant in a china shop query. Alrighty, I think we'll leave our elephant bull now. We're going to head down, have a quick look at the Ninkapuma Pride, where they were, and then we'll leave them. No, they don't. Elephant bulls do not look after a herd. They generally operate like this guy is now. Once they get to that age, they operate on their own, and they will join herds for mating opportunities only. They will sometimes move around with other bulls, often younger, sometimes of a similar age, until they come into must, which of course is their time of breeding, and they get a very heightened testosterone surge through their bodies, and it makes them disinclined to be particularly friendly to us or to other bulls. And then they will go and seek out herds of females. So no, in short, they do not operate with female herds. Now I'm very much looking forward to the arrival of the Wahlberg's eagles here. Mr. and Mrs. Wahlberg, the pale face, no, not the pale face, the pale form Wahlbergs that live in this tree, and they will surely be back very shortly. Let us go back to Tristan now, who I believe is in the vicinity of where Thandi was this morning.
We are indeed, James. So we're just trying to see if we can find any of the cats that we're looking for. So we know that Hosanna and Thandi were both here this morning, but no sign of little Kalamba this morning. She was calling a lot, and we left her kind of sleeping and calling and sleeping and calling, and Hosanna was still eating. So I'm just scanning all the shady spots as we approach where they were, because I'm pretty sure if Hosanna's still here, he's going to have a big round belly and is going to be very satisfied with himself, and is probably lying under the shade of a tree, just enjoying a bit of rest and relaxation and just being nice and full. And Thandi, well, I mean, she could be absolutely anywhere now. I thought maybe, just maybe, they'll stick around here. There wasn't much left on the carcass, so we'll just go. I'll show you how much there actually is, because I've already come past where the carcass was, but I'll just come here quickly to show you guys. Be a brief little walk by before we figure it out. There's lots of tracks for them absolutely everywhere, and what's interesting is that there's some francolins that are hanging around actually near the carcass, which I'm going to show you now. I just want to give David some space, and also I want to actually see if these francolins will come and eat off the carcass, because that'll be quite interesting. Certainly would be first for me to see francolins doing it. But you can see that while it doesn't look like much, there is still nutrients there. There is still a bit of meat that could have been absorbed by that and by any of the predators, and so you'll find that they normally eat those legs, even the ribs. So I would be surprised if none of them are here. It would surprise me a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if Thandi found Kalamba and then moved off. That wouldn't surprise me. But if Hosanna left that, it would definitely be something that I wouldn't have expected. I would have expected him to have been here just kind of making use of every little bit of nutrients he can get. Although, you never know, maybe he wasn't in the mood and he was full once he finished and decided it's better to go and try and find some water somewhere. So it could very well be that he's gone up towards Buffelshoek Dam, and watching the dam cam this afternoon will be a very good idea too, because if they didn't go to Buffelshoek Dam, then they will go towards the dam cam for a bit of water this afternoon. But what we're going to do is we're just going to scratch around. There's lots of little shady spots here where they could be sitting. And we know yesterday James said that Thandi was sleeping quite far from where the carcass was, so I'm just going to do some loops about and see what I can find. There's lots of tracks for Thandi all up and down here, which I would expect, as well as tracks for Hosanna, but we'll try and figure out what actually happened. So Lisa, species that we're allowed to off-road for is leopard, lion, elephant, buffalo. We are allowed to off-road for wild dogs and cheetah as well. And if you get a view of something very rare, you can follow it off-road, but generally it's not a sighting that develops. So if we see something rare, and when I say rare, I'm talking about an aardvark or a caracal or a serval or a pangolin or something like that, you can off-road for those if within reason. Obviously most of the time though, if you off-road for those species, they generally run away from you and don't stick around too much. So it's a kind of a game of cat and mouse a little bit, and a catch-22. You don't want to off-road too much. At the same time though, sometimes you have to do a little bit just to be able to see them. So those are the species, but the kind of hard and fast rule is that if you see any signs of those, and then the other rule that we have out here for off-roading is that if there is any sign of tracks, so let's say I had tracks for Thandi and Kalamba now, and basically how we found this carcass, and they go in a direction and you pick up alarm calls, or you have an idea that they're going to a certain water point or something like that, then you can go off-road to go and check that. Particularly if it's a female with cubs, then it's generally accepted practice that you do it. I mean, in the lodges it's a little different because you've got a tracker, so you can send the track on foot while you drive around and wait on the other side on the road to see if maybe, just maybe, that animal has come out. But if you don't have a tracker like we don't, then we can follow up on alarm calls and those kind of things, and we try and be as respectful about driving around in the bush as possible. Try and use big game paths so that you're not really damaging anything as you go along. I'm just trying to look if maybe Hosanna walked here, and there's lots of kitty tracks around, so it looks like this might be when they went to go and have a bit of a drink. So there's tracks here for Thandi, but they don't look fresh from today. They look as though they're a little bit older. Okay, well, back to the drawing board. We'll try and figure it out. I might just jump off the car and have a little look around, see if I can find a direction that they went. In the meantime, while I do that, let's send you back across to James and see what he's managed to find so far.
I found a carpet of lions. I'm just going to ease in here. We're going to have to get pretty close to get a view, but that's okay. They won't mind. They are used to us. The famous Nkuhuma pride on both sides of us, lying in very affectionate slumber next to each other. One of them having a stretch, the other one hugging a little one there. That's very sweet. Can you see that, Craig? Yes, is this all right? Yeah, that's good. Hello, Nkuhuma pride. How are you? I see that you're panicked by our presence. You've leapt up in absolute terror, growling away and swishing your tails in irritation. Oh, there it is, you see. You see that tail swishing there, Craig? It lifted up and down. Oof, look at that. Better be careful. I'm, of course, being entirely sarcastic, everybody. These cats are so used to us and so happy to sleep just about all the time. Going to be quiet for about 20 seconds to give you an impression of how amazingly silent and peaceful it is here. Isn't that amazing? Not a bird calling, just the wind blowing and the lions in sweet slumber, bar that very one sort of obsessive young lioness who seems to have a cleanliness issue. She's very desperate to have clean feet. King, you say lions, 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 lions. Yes, well, yes, quite lions. Lots of them. Ah, Willow Wanderer, good idea. A head count. I'll count the ones on my right. There are 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that side there should be 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, there's one. No. You see 7? How many can you see there, Craig?
6.
6, me too. It's interesting. Is there one missing? There are the 4 on the ground. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's very strange. I mean, that is hilarious. That little that sleeping pose is very amusing. I can definitely only see 10. That's not to say there isn't one lying in a bush somewhere close by. Very odd. I'm assuming all 11 were here this morning. I didn't check with anybody. Oh, wow. So Steve only counted 10 today. Well, now, that's very interesting. How many adult lionesses are here? I think all 4 of these in front of us are adult lionesses. And unless those are all 6 youngsters... Well, you see, I wouldn't be too surprised if we were missing an adult lioness. Maybe she'd be mating somewhere. That's a youngster, isn't it? Are you a youngster? Yes, you're youngish. Hello. Just making friends again, are you, with your old friends? Good. Sinak, the jury's a little bit out on that question. Whether or not the evoker males would pose some sort of threat to these youngsters, I'm not sure. Remember, they're pretty much 2 years old now, just about all of them, in which case they shouldn't, in theory, be facing any threats at all from the evokers. But it's not impossible that they would. So, I mean, as we all know, males coming into a territory could easily pose a threat to any cubs. And in theory, once a lion is beyond 18 months old, it should be safe from attack from new males, but you never really know. The Birmingham boys killed a number of lionesses when they came into this area, adults and youngsters. And so it really does depend on the situation. The evokers are quite young. They haven't really taken this territory so much as fallen into it, found it totally vacated by the Birminghams. And so I'm really not sure if they face any... I don't think they do face much of a threat at the moment. But, that said, where's the other one? Is she maybe mating with one of the evokers? Lisa, the social structure of the pride is much the same as it is with most of the prides in this particular area, and that means that the pride is a number of females and their youngsters, in this case 5 adult females and 6 youngsters, the youngest of which is almost 2 years old now. And they are currently in the domain of the evoker boys, 3 young males, probably only about 5 years old now, coming up to their 5th birthdays now, and they preside over the Nkuhuma Pride here, the Styx Pride almost to the south. The Styx Pride is kind of on the border between them and the Birmingham boys. The Talamati Pride to the north, and quite possibly the Torchwood Pride to the east as well. So there's quite a lot for them to do, quite a lot for them to look after, the evoker boys. And that's been brought about by the fact that the Birmingham boys, who were the erstwhile dominators of this part of the world, some 4 very large males have just kind of vacated this area and headed down onto the Sand River. They've left the northern Sabi Sand completely sort of unguarded, and so these 3 youngsters have come in and kind of taken the territory without so much as a piece of fur being taken, if you like. No shots were fired, as far as we can tell. Alrighty, I think that this is going to put me to sleep and not very long at all, so I think we're going to move on from here, see what else we can find. We will come back, hopefully, depending on the game drive density in the area. I don't think that it should be too dense today, so we should be able to get back into this area before sundown.
Well, James, don't get too bored. Hopefully you'll find something that you're looking for. But as you can see, we found, well, not the leopards that we're looking for, but rather interesting, something to talk about. And so basically it is the impala horns from this particular kill. Now, the reason why it's on the car is because this was quite far away. And so if you are a bit squeamish, it's probably not the worst time to look away, because we're going to discuss a whole bunch of rather squeamish things. But essentially, when I was following the chaos this morning, this pair of horns was lying quite far from the carcass. And so I thought I'd just come and have a little look and see, and something about it intrigued me when I went past it. There was 2 things, really. One is that if you look actually where it's been eaten, so not on the horn structure itself, but around the sort of edging here, this is actually the brain casing of this particular impala, and you can see how whatever went after this, whether it was the leopards or another predator, has eaten away the back end of the brain casing and basically eaten the brain out and left that skull inside there. Now, to do that on an adult male impala of this size, is not a small adult male impala, impala takes some serious power, and I highly doubt that this was Thandi and Tlolamba. I don't think that they actually made this kill. I'm of the firm belief that this kill was done by something else, and maybe wild dogs with hyenas that got involved, and then Thandi saw an opportunity and stole it. The reason why I also say that is because if you look at the size of their stomachs and the way that carcass looked yesterday already, it looked as though it was very, very dirty. It looked as though it was quite dry, but that was actually because it had been dragged around. Now, leopards typically do not drag carcasses like that. It's a typical wild dog maneuver when they feed, is that they pull carcasses all over, and the whole carcass basically gets covered in grass and mud and sticks and all kinds of other things, which is what we saw on the carcass yesterday. So I think maybe dogs killed this, and then she saw an opportunity and came in, especially if it was just one dog by itself. That dog would have immediately run away had she been around, and maybe a hyena was also involved and she managed to just steal some of the carcass. The other thing about it is it's been decapitated. So normally you would find this would still be attached on a normal leopard carcass. Leopards don't eat through the head like this until right at the end. It's one of the very last things that they feed on. So for this to be broken off like this or decapitated indicates something else. Now what I want to do is I'm going to show you something. When we turn it around, you can see that the front of the head has also been eaten away, and that requires some serious jaws. And if you actually look, you will find places where there's been teeth that have gone straight in. So there's a nice little example where my finger is, where a little hole of a tooth that has gone in there. So I think this could be potentially from a hyena that got into this and was able to eat it. So this particular area that you see here, this is the orbital area for the eye, so that's where the eye socket would be basically, and then it goes round and the face would have come down and forward like that. But you can see it was still quite fresh when we found it, because if you look on the edges here, we've had 2 very hot days, and you look at where the fur is and just look on the edge here, this meat here is a little bit dry, but it's not dry. So this was definitely killed 2 days ago, and it would make sense because Hosana had that interaction with hyenas and what we thought was maybe a wild dog kill, and those wild dogs could easily, or the wild dog, we don't know how many, could easily have come from here, made a kill here, got chased, and then were followed by hyenas all the way across, because in a straight line from here, if you go straight kind of west, you will go to exactly where Hosana and the hyenas were. And so I wonder if that's not what happened, and Hosana actually then backtracked it all the way through here and eventually then found this carcass. So it's an interesting kind of take on everything. The other thing that is interesting with these horns, which I'm going to try and do without getting bits of rotten impala all over, is 2 things. Normally when we pick up horns out in the bush, they've been sitting around for quite a while, and they've got this more sort of brown coloration to them. So if you look on the top of the horns, it's got that usual kind of coloration. So it's got this kind of browny, dark color. But if you look on these horns themselves, they're actually got a very red coloration to them. So where the flies are, you'll see there's a lot of red there. Now this thing does smell quite bad, so we're not going to hold on to it for too much longer, but basically this red coloration has actually been put onto this horn. It doesn't stay there, it's not natural to the horn. This is from when it goes and horns trees, and if you look on this set of horns on this side, where the ridges are, you'll actually see bits of tree that have been left behind. And so this is when they go and they rub their horns, much like what a buffalo would do, and those tannins then get on to the horn structure itself. And the tannins in that red coloration basically stop horn boring in moths from going into the horn while this animal is still alive and eating their horns. So this is just maintenance of the horn itself. It keeps the horns in good condition and makes sure that they don't have too many issues with insects that are parasitizing their horn structure and going to weaken it. The other interesting thing with this particular set of horns is you notice on the top left that this animal's horn is broken or squashed. Now, I have a funny feeling it wasn't like that prior to this morning. I think I clipped that and drove over it. So even if some of you did see that, I think that's where I drove over it, and the tip is quite fragile, so it would have broken like that. But you can also see what's quite amazing from these horns is that we are in the rutting season. And the reason I say that is have a look at how scratched these horns are. There will be obviously a few bite marks lower down from when a predator, but if you look here, you can actually see it's quite rough where this animal has been fighting with other male impalas, and it's created quite a rough surface on the otherwise very, very smooth horn. It's actually quite interesting to see, and you can then also, this tannin coloration is quite common to see more so in the rutting period, because they will often fight when they're rutting, and they'll then go up to trees and they'll hit trees and just try and scent mark and make sure they do a big display. So very, very cool to see. It's something that we don't get to see very often. You can also see how horns actually work, which is pretty interesting. Now, Angie, what is interesting with these actually is that they are very, very much heavier than normal horns that you'd pick up that are dry and been out here for a while. There's still a lot of connective tissue inside this horn that's wrapping around the bone, and that's making it a lot heavier than it normally is. But for those of you that didn't really understand horns and antlers and what the difference is, so this is quite a nice example of how we can tell the difference between horns and antlers. So if you look here, this is a solid piece of bone that we've got on the bottom. It's a really big, thick, chunky piece, and these horns are solidly fused to that. There is no kind of pulling it off or anything like that. It is just a part of the skull structure, and inside here is a bone structure that grows all the way up to the kind of top, and what's covering it then is basically like your fingernails. It's a keratin sheath that has come over and is covering this entire horn. Now, if this was an antler, what you would find is that this would be basically, it's not the same structure, and it doesn't have this keratin sheath to it. It's got this kind of velvet on it that's almost like hair more than anything else, and those horns will come off every year and then regrow again. It's not like these. If this breaks, this impala will never get these horns again. This in particular impala won't grow horns ever again anyway, but it wouldn't if it was alive and it broke its horn. But very, very cool to have a nice close look at them. It's not something we get to see that often, and I am going to put them down on the ground because they smell. Right, but before we do that, because Susie, you've asked a very interesting question about the rings on this particular impala skulls and on the horn. So you've got these kind of ridges that run up and down. Now those are not indicative of how old this impala is, because if we had to count these rings, this impala would be absolutely ancient by now and would be long past the longest living impala that has been out there. So these are not for that. What this is for is when these guys are in the rut and they are competing as territorial males to try and mate with females, these ridges and the horn clashes that they go through would be vitally important, because without them, and if they had what they have here, which is the smooth section, they will clash horns, and the horns are going to not grip each other, and they're going to slide between one opponent and the other, and they're going to then stab each other and cause a lot of damage, and there's going to be a big problem. They're going to end up stabbing each other in the eyes and the head and all kinds of other things. So what happens with these is it allows the other set of horns to come in, and it basically hits up against this and provides a bit of traction for those horns to lock and for them to test their strength rather than to hurt one another. Ultimately, male antelopes are not trying to fight to kill each other. They're trying to compete in order to be able to get mating rights, and so it's not designed to kill, it's more designed to test each other's strength. And so these ridges help with that, being able to lock the horn, and then they can use the power of their necks and their bodies to determine who is actually the strongest of the males, which is pretty interesting. Good, now I'm going to get rid of it now because it really does smell quite bad, and I'm quite tired of smelling rotten antelope meat in front of me. I'm pretty sure my hands are going to probably smell pretty gross too, which we won't think about for now. We'll try and sort those out just now. Anyway, we're going to see, we haven't gotten very far when it comes to looking for our leopards since you last saw us, before we've kind of picked up these impala horns. So we're going to keep trying to see if I can find them. In the meantime, let's send you back across to James, who's now bumbling about since he's left his lions that were very sleepy.
Well, yes, and we found a Hammercreeper, everybody, but alas, it flew off. This was because it was impatient. It was an impatient Hammercreeper. It was a treehouse dam. We were very excited, Craig and I, because we haven't seen anything at treehouse dam for 3 decades. Anyway, so be it. We're going to go from waterhole to waterhole, see if we can't find something at Twin Dams, which is the lowest point on Djuma, and then I think we'll go to Chitwa, because we're bound to find something going on there. Chitwa, if you are a new viewer, is a reserve to the south of us. Grace, the birds will start dribbling back from now. I've heard of yellow-billed kites arriving in Natal already, which means that they must be around here somewhere. We haven't seen any. Wahlberg's eagles are often the first back, and then they'll start dripping in from now until the woodland kingfisher comes back on round about the 16th of November. It's quite a specific date I gave you. That's what it was 2 years ago. I forget what it was last year. Does anybody remember what it was last year? The chip purr of the woodland kingfisher? What day was it heard on first? I remember very distinctly the year before it, arriving on the 16th. It arrived at the dam Cam. Oh, Craig, our great favourite. Spyker die Duiker. There is a duiker, everybody. Craig and I see many of these in the mornings when we're on our rehearsals for TV, and we say leopard. Oh no, duiker. And we see it again and again and again. And that is a female duiker. There's evidence not only by the absence of her horns but her size. She's noticeably larger than the male. There we are. Let's keep going. Aaron, there's no real difference between the number of mammals, but summer and winter. They are the same mammals that occur here summer and winter. I guess their local distribution varies slightly, but not a great deal. I'm expecting some buffalo to come back at some stage and occupy the Djuma Dam area, but we haven't seen any there for some time. But otherwise, seasonally, there really isn't very much movement in this particular area, and that's because of the provision of artificial water. So, well, it's not artificial water, it's real water. It's artificial water provision. So there are a number of pumped pans and dams, water reservoirs that animals can come and drink at during the dry season, and that means that the variation of species in an area like the Sabi Sands is very limited. Big things like elephants come in and come out, and I guess the greatest seasonal influx of elephants would occur during January and February when the marula marula trees are in fruit. But otherwise, not an enormous migratory area. Used to be, before they started pumping water, there used to be a massive migration of wildebeest between the Sand River, where they'd spend the winter months, and then they'd go up to the seasonal Timbavati River during the course of the summer. But that hasn't happened for many years now. Alrighty, we're arriving at Twin Dams. Let's see if we can find something there. Is Kirsten talking? Go again with that, Kirsten. Talking now? She did. Oh dear. There we go. Ah. No, the purpose of the speed bumps, Patricia, is for drainage. They do serve a very valuable purpose, slowing people down, but their main purpose is for drainage. There he is. Look at that, Craig. Can you believe it? There's our Hammercreeper. I'm pretty sure it's the same one. This is the direction that he flew in. How very exciting. Hooray. I quite like Hammercreepers. I quite enjoy them. Oh, and there's a lizard in the background sneaking past. An enormous monitor lizard. Water monitor lizard. Featured heavily in the great World Lizard Day video that we produced. Came out yesterday on World Lizard Day. It was probably that very individual, actually. We filmed quite a lot of them lurking about here. Can you see it there, Craig? There we are. Thinking about having a drink, making friends with the Hammercreeper. Which is nice to see. I'm just trying to think what else we can talk about there. Oh yes, there we have 3-banded plovers. There they are. A real little community of different species getting along with each other, providing us as human beings with a model for how we too should live in harmony with those that are different. Shouldn't we, Craig? That's why you and I live in harmony, because we have taken this note from these animals, and although we are very different, we live in harmony together, you see. It seems like the Hammercreeper is almost tracking the lizard, which is very interesting. Almost like the lizard would like to get into the water, and the Hammercreeper is some way preventing that. Anyway, while we sit here wondering what's going to happen next with this exciting sighting, let's go back to Tristan, who has got a gormless creature.
Well, yes, James, is about as exciting as what's happening on your side, except there is something very, very cool about seeing a little scrubhare's ear in the light and actually seeing that network of veins that runs through it. It's pretty special. It actually almost looks like a leaf against the light, doesn't it? You can see that it's sitting here and sitting absolutely motionless because, well, it's got to, unfortunately, and during the day there are many, 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 many things that would go after this poor scrubhare, from all kinds of birds of prey to the leopards that we're looking for, and various snakes and other things. And so it's important that it sits very still in amongst that thicket and stays as still as possible. But it was just so cool to see its ear. It's what actually drew the attention. As I was kind of looking around, I just saw this bright orange thing in the bush, and it was these ears, which is absolutely amazing. It's kind of translucent. It's almost like when you put your hand against a high-powered light and you can sometimes see everything that's going on in your hand. Nice, very, very cool. But its camouflage, other than its ear, is astounding. When you come back, you can see that inside that thicket is very, very difficult to see a scrubhare. So you can imagine if that ear turns ever so slightly, it's going to be almost impossible to be able to actually see it inside of a thicket like that. And so that's what they do during the day, is they lie here and they take it easy. And I'm pretty sure that this rabbit, if it was much like it was this morning and overcast and cloudy, those ears would have been tucked against the body, because they know that having their ears up like that is going to give them away in some respects. And so the reason that it's doing it is because it's quite warm this afternoon, and so you can see there's a rich network of veins in there. And much like the elephant with big ears, this will help with cooling a little bit. Just putting the ears up and catching the breeze as it blows is just going to help cool some of that blood in those ears down and just help thermoregulate these guys as well, which is quite a cool thing to see. Amazing, eh? Now, talking about scrubhares, I'm not sure how many of you were actually watching the dam cam during the day today, but there was the most insane sighting on the dam cam during the course of the day. What we had was 3 ground hornbills that came across, and they walked down the slope towards the dam, and they got into the bowl of the dam. And we know from watching Hosanna going about his business that there are quite a few scrubhares around. Anyway, I was watching them kind of potter about, and we were there because we were kind of on nest cam watch, and we were hoping something would come down and drink as that sun broke out. And anyway, the ground hornbills were going about, pecking as they do, picking up the odd insect, and just generally being ground hornbills, when all of a sudden pandemonium broke loose, and this ground hornbill launched, and it picked up a baby scrubhare. So the scrubhare was probably about this size, small little scrubhare like this. It stabbed at it, and it was trying to pick it up and down, and this poor scrubhare was kicking for its life. And eventually this ground hornbill grabbed it while it was still kicking and swallowed the whole thing whole, still alive. It was absolutely insane. It was really quite something to see. It was a big male ground hornbill. It was a bit kind of gory, actually, to be honest. Poor Jerry was squealing in final control as we watched this ground hornbill absolutely decimate this poor scrubhare little baby, which is I know, Kirsty, it's a very horrible story, but amazing nonetheless. You wouldn't think that ground hornbills would be capable of, well, actually I would after last year. Hammered Harry, we know how he got handled. For those of you who don't know about Hammered Harry, well, there was a ground hornbill that got severely dealt a almost mafia style blow when it was picked and eaten by its fellow members. And unfortunately, not that the mafia eat each other, I don't know where that came from, but anyway, the way that they dealt with it was very kind of mafia style, if you think of books and things like that. But anyway, I mean, ground hornbills can be vicious, but I didn't think it would swallow the thing whole. I mean, and alive. I thought it would have stabbed it with its beak, and you've got big, powerful beaks, and maybe it would have broken its back or something like that first. But no, it swallowed it, and then you could see it had its beak open for a while. I think that poor scrubhare was kicking and going crazy inside of that bird, which is a very horrible thing to think about. So it's been a macabre actual afternoon, from dead impala horns to a bunny that got eaten. Sad time for the bunny, but it is what it is. And ground hornbills, well, they're a supreme predator, and it's quite amazing what they can actually eat on. Now let's try and brighten things up and send you back across to James, who undoubtedly will entertain all of you. I think he's now got a lizard that he wants to talk about, and hopefully that will be a lot nicer than me talking about scrubhares being murdered.
Yes, no one likes a scrubhare to be murdered, even if they are quite gormless creatures. and especially not by means of ground hornbill chisel bill to the cranium. I imagine that must have been a very painful death for that bunny. Anyway, this is also a predator we're looking at. It will eat pretty much anything smaller than it. It'll eat birds if it can catch them, very unlikely, probably lizards and frogs, fish if it can get them, insects. And I wonder if it isn't looking for frogs in the mud. I'm sure it's picking up little flies and things as it goes as well. Now this one part of a couple of two that live at this waterhole as far as I'm aware, and what they do is they live here, and what they did last year is they had a burrow in the bank. And in the bank they made a little sort of home, laid their eggs, and then the young ones were born. And there's no parental care, and there's at least one of them left. At least one little baby left. I'm afraid, Poofy Poof, I was so thrilled to hear your name again that I missed your question. Can we have it again, Poofy Poof? Oh, yes, it is always a pleasure to see some of the smaller ones, especially some of the slightly more exotic ones, like that water monitor lizard. I watch the birds trying to eat, and I watch this thing trying to eat, and I watch the hammercreeper looking for things to eat, and I wonder to myself, this really must be a pretty tough time of the year for them to be finding anything to eat. I suppose that the lizard is predatory, so it can eat pretty much any bit of meat that it can catch. But, it doesn't look like it's designed to catch much of the meat that I'm seeing around here. Lizards and frogs normally in estivation at this stage. In other words, they're not around. So what it's finding to eat, I'm not sure. I guess also its nutritional requirements will be that much lower in the winter time, because it will go through long periods of torpor or sort of semi-hibernation. Oh yes, T. Evans, the lizard is preyed upon by leopards. We've seen Horsana, in fact one of his very first kills was one of those. No, in fact it was his sister, Shongila, killed it and he stole it from her. But he's definitely killed them before. I've seen Mvula, a male leopard, eating one of them. But one of their major predators, certainly of its quite close relative, the rock monitor, is the martial eagle. They are known to have a real taste for monitor lizards. Now this interaction here is also quite interesting. I'm not sure what this hammercreeper is benefiting, or in what way the hammercreeper is benefiting by being around the monitor, but it certainly seems to be making an effort to be around it. Kirsten says it's friendship. Well, nothing's impossible out here. Quickest way, as I always say, to get egg on your face is to state that something is impossible, because you would almost sure as nuts see it happening straight away. But I'm not convinced friendship is what's going on. Maybe it's some mutual foraging where the monitor might dig if he finds something, like a frog estivating in the mud or a fish estivating in the mud. And maybe the hammerkop, with its bird-sized brain, which is not massively intellectually capable,
Well, welcome to a nice surprise, firstly. 2, sorry about the gremlins, no idea what happened, but everything just went boom, and now it's all back up and running, hopefully, and Conrad has done some sort of magic to get things working. But as you can see, what has materialized in front of us is not a recorded clip. I know we haven't seen buffalo in a while, and this may come as a shock, but yes, we have a herd of buffalo on Djuma. Isn't that quite exciting? They've all come down towards Buffelshoek Dam, as the name would suggest. Buffelshoek is a perfect name for a herd of buffalo to come and drink, and they're making their way down, drinking nicely, and then they're starting to kind of go away from the water. They've been down for about the last 10 minutes or so, having a nice long drink before heading off. What is immediately obvious, though, is just how shallow Buffelshoek Dam is at the moment. You can see the buffalo that are standing right in the middle there, how they are not even up to sort of knee deep. It's very shallow, so it looks like a large body of water, but actually is not as deep as one would think. Now, the noise of these buffalo and the fact that they are here is going to be a dinner bell for the Nkuhuma Pride of note. The Nkuhumas for sure are going to be on the lookout for these guys. The wind is blowing at the moment in a southeaster at the moment, so it's blowing from the north down southwards, so it's blowing into our faces at the moment. We need this wind just to turn west slightly. If it turns west slightly, it will then be blowing to the south, and that's going to mean that we're going to get those lions very, very excited very quickly. They will pick that scent up immediately if it's gusting like it is now, and they will then come, I'm pretty sure, running up to this area because, well, I know they've been on a buffalo kill in the last few days in Manyeleti, but there's been very few and precious opportunities to hunt buffalo, and I'm pretty sure the Nkuhuma Pride would love to have a crack at these guys given how many youngsters and females there are here. So this will be, like I say, it's basically like you being starved and being put your very, very favorite meal in front of you, and somebody just kind of shouting at you that it's here, and then big neon lights pointing at them to show you where you need to go and eat. And so that's pretty much what's happening now, and hopefully the Nkuhuma Pride are going to wake up. Hopefully the bellowing and making of noise is going to drive the Nkuhuma Pride to wake up now this afternoon already and send us a little bit, well, send them up this way for a bit of an afternoon hunt. Now, because we disconnected from all of you just now, some of you may have only just joined us. Remember that we are live, so you can ask lots and lots of questions and be able to comment as well on hashtag Safari Live, and that's exactly what Carl has just done. So Carl, no crocodiles that we know of at the moment. It's not to say that there aren't crocodiles here. Sometimes we do get crocs in this particular dam. I have seen crocodiles here before, and so they do sometimes come down, but for the most part, no, there's no crocodiles. That's why the buffalo are keen to wade in. Also, what happens with big herds of buffalo like this is as they come down to drink, the first ones disturb the water a little bit, then there's a bit of mud, so they just keep pushing and edging forward and forward and forward so as to get the nice clean water to drink. Also, the bulls like to wallow just to cool themselves down. It's a nice warm winter's afternoon, and therefore perfect conditions to be able to have a little bath. But they look as though they're going the wrong way now. They look as though they're heading in a northerly direction, up back towards the Buffelshoek boundary from where they came. I was hoping that they were going to shift and move more west and then cut southwards and head towards Gari Dam, because if they do that, well, then the Nkuhuma Pride are in their pound seats. They're going to be very, very happy if the buffalo do follow our advice. They look as though they're kind of milling about at the moment. They're not too busy, and so I don't know which way they're going to go, but I'd like them to head more towards the west. They might head north because the wind is coming from there and they'll walk into the wind. Rummet, this herd, I would say probably, if I had to guess, maybe about 70, 80 buffalo, maybe around there. I mean, there's quite a few that have already left the water, and there's still a few that are milling about, so don't know if some of you want to try and count how many we've got, but I would say somewhere close to there. Now, Aubrey's calling me on the radio, so I just want to chat to him. Go ahead, Aubrey. Because he's busy helping us with trying to find these leopards. Okay, copy. Thanks, Orbs. I'll come and give you a hand there just now. So it sounds like tracks for Hosanna going straight towards Gari Dam. Kirsty, is the dam camera back up and running? Because if it is, please pay attention, everybody, to the dam cam, because I wouldn't be surprised that he does go there. It's not up just yet. Okay, well, we're trying to basically play ransom. Conrad is working on it, trying to get rid of these gremlins that are holding the dam cam at ransom and trying to get it back into our control, which I'm pretty sure Conrad will do. Conrad is like the Tom Cruise of our staff team. He's able to do Mission Impossible and save everybody and save the day. Good. While we watch these buffalo just slowly make their way away from us and head off and go and give Aubrey a hand trying to find little Hosanna, let's send you back across to James.
Hello everybody, I do apologise for the lack of signal and problems that we've had. Of course, I'm sure Tristan's apologised to you, and thank you for all the amusing responses to the final controls. Well, let's give him a bit of credit for being very funny this afternoon. There we have a juvenile battalier that has been sitting around Leadwood for some time. We're on Leadwood Road. We went to Chitwa, had a look around there. We didn't find anything. They were looking for Guchava, but there was no sign of her. And so we come back onto Djuma to see maybe if Tingana hasn't crossed back onto Djuma at some stage. He hasn't as yet, as far as we can tell. But we have come across a juvenile battalier that was born somewhere around here, I think probably in the last 4 years. Still very much juvenile plumage. And this chap's quite easy to recognise because his head is almost white. The light's just not right for you to see that at the moment, I'm afraid. Anyway, that's what's going on here. We're not quite yet going to go back towards the lions. I don't think. It's really still very hot. And I don't think they're going to move for at least another hour or so. But we'll head back there slowly at some stage. Good. Let us continue. It's not the best battalier sighting we've ever had. Oh my goodness gracious me, we're going to now, we're going to go to Steve, believe it or not, with the Nest Cam. No, it walked out of the frame, so you're staying with me. The Nest Cam is not mobile, you see, so unfortunately Steve's moment of glory was taken from him by the fact that the Nyala had slaked its thirst already. Bad luck, Steve. Oh, he's got a different frame. Let's go back to him.
Well, the idiosyncrasies of having 3 cameras positioned at different angles. If the Nyala decides to walk past, well, you have to change cameras. Thanks, James, for sending us back. Welcome, everybody, to the Nest Cam this afternoon. My name is Steve, and we have a Nyala bull coming in to drink. He's quite tentative. Oh, there is the smell of the Nkuhuma pride lingering around the watering hole from this morning. We followed them from there all the way to where we left them, probably about 9 o'clock or so. I can't remember now, but here he is. He's looking in the distance. Is he going to quench his thirst? I think he will. A little bit afraid or frightening by yourself coming down to drink, especially with the large predators on the prowl. You can see just off in the back on the left, there's a few impala slowly meandering down. They generally come down in their numbers a bit safer. Paula, it is a beautiful view. This is regarded as the beach from the Nest Cam. And that Nyala is taking his time, making sure it is all safe. There we go. He won't spend too long at a given moment being on his own. A little bit of a thirst quench. Head will pop up again and then off he'll move. Teresa, he's a very nicely sized animal. They could get a little bit bigger than that. His horns are they're almost there. I mean, I think it would make a difference if we saw him next to the impala, but an enormous animal. It's why we don't see leopards hunting the males. See, he's a bit tentative. He almost jumped there. The leopards all hunt the females, but we never see the leopards attacking or even trying to attack the adults. I think Scott was here months ago, and he saw Tundi walk straight past the Nyala bull, didn't even look at it, because she just knows way too big. Those enormous horns could inflict a lot of damage, and the oxpeckers have found him. I think those are oxpeckers. They also need to quench their thirst. A diet of blood definitely leaves a little bit of a dry palate. Must be the iron in the blood. It gets a little bit tangy. Well, from our lone Nyala bull drinking here with his oxpeckers, let's go back up to that beautiful herd of buffalo with Tristan.
Well, the beautiful herd of buffalo is leaving us behind at the moment. They decided they're going to carry on and walk off. But the good news is, and what will probably make James Henry smile a little bit this afternoon, is that by the looks of things, they're cutting straight southwest like we wanted them to. They're going into the block, heading towards Hyena Central area, which will then take them up towards the sort of central parts of Djuma. Now, David, if you can come to an individual in front of us here, there's two here that are prime suspects for an Inkahuma hunt. The first is the one on top of the bank. Well, sorry, that one is one, but that one there is the first one. You see, look at it walking. Now, that is lion bait, if ever there was lion bait here in South Africa. Unfortunately, walking like that, the lions are going to see it, and that's who they will target first and foremost out of this entire herd. It's a weaker individual, it's very, very badly injured, limping, and so that's what they would like to go after. What's wrong with it? I can't tell. It doesn't look like any outside trauma. Maybe it's just overextended a leg, and that's why it's battling to walking. Now, the other one that might be in danger is this one here on the edge of the water. If you have a look at the body condition of this one, it resembles those buffalo of 2016 that were emaciated. You can see that it's very thin, very little muscle definition around the hindquarters and rib areas, and that's an indication of an animal that is a little bit on the sick side. Lisa, no, it's just the buffalo. I suppose they are prone in that they've got TB, and it's very difficult for them to not have it because of it's kind of spread through the whole system. But they're not prone to disease. Remember that these poor buffalo have gone through hell and back over the last 4 or 5 years. We've had drought, and it's not really eased off that much. You look at the winter conditions at the moment, there's not a huge amount of grazing, and there's definitely not a huge amount of water around, and that makes life very difficult for these guys. And you can see, look at how this poor buffalo is going to labor up this hill. It's going to first have some green grass. Yes, you should eat that. That's good for you. You're going to definitely put on some weight if you do that. Green is good. Yes, tuck in, eat your salad. There we go, look at that. That's all good sustenance. I hope it's a good plant for them to eat. It seems like it's quite hungry, so I would imagine even if it wasn't tasty, they are going to eat it, that's for sure. Now, Aubrey's calling me again. Go ahead, Orbs. So hopefully it's good news. Okay, copy that. Thanks, Orbs. I'll join you now. So it sounds like Aubrey's been successful and found what we've been looking for, so we're going to stop relaxing. I was actually sitting, because it was quite nice, I was sitting like this, kind of had my feet up, because we had the buffalo, there's the sunset on my left, and it's the perfect place just to actually get very comfortable and just kind of watch what's going on. And while we were off air, it seemed like the right thing to do. It's got a perfect view, but enough slacking. It's time to start actually doing some work and finding some more animals in this. Now, I'm hoping that these buffalo, by the time we're with this leopard, will be starting to get into that area. And what if we get Hosanna hunting a buffalo? There's a leopard right here. There's a leopard. So I said, what if we get Hosanna hunting a buffalo? And Hosanna has just appeared right behind us and is looking at the buffalo. What are the chances of that happening? And we're sitting here doing absolutely nothing, and there comes this leopard out of nowhere. Hello, Hosanna. Welcome. Welcome to the sundowner spot and the beauty of Buffelshoek Dam this afternoon. I wonder what he's going to get up to. He's going to go drink, definitely. Now, I just need to let Aubrey know that I've already got a leopard, that we're not going to be coming to him because other people want to go there. But how's this? What are the chances of that happening? Hosanna, what you doing, boy? That was classic. Yeah, stations. I've just located Hosanna at Buffelshoek Dam with these Nyari. So it sounds like Aubrey's got Tandi and Tlalamba, which is also exciting news as well. So it sounds that the little one. Now, I just need to tell James that I won't. Well, Kirsty, will you tell James that I won't be leaving Hosanna? I'll be staying with him, so he's welcome to go to Tandi and Tlalamba. We'll stay with Hosanna because I want to see if he's going to try and hunt these buffalo. it's going to be interesting to see what he does. But he's going to have a little drink into the sunset. Isn't that just absolutely beautiful? It would be nice to be on the other side of him because there would be this golden light on him. But unfortunately, where I am now, I don't think I'll make it round in time for him to finish drinking. But isn't that beautiful? Look at how he's just lapping things up. That's hilarious. I can't actually believe he came out behind us. I was so busy going, well, I'll go to the other leopard, and I was so busy taking it easy, watching the buffalo, that, well, I hadn't looked behind me for 1 second. David, it's your fault. There's two things that are David's fault this afternoon. First is that David didn't spot the leopard behind us, so we're blaming David. The second thing is David said this afternoon, don't worry, Trist, I've got us sorted for snacks. We've got nuts, we've got grapes, we've got fruit. And then just now we were bumbling about, and it's a rather warm afternoon, and I said to David, David, you got any of those grapes sitting around? And to which David kept quiet for a moment and then basically admitted that no, there were no more grapes. Unfortunately, they had been inhaled by the grape monster that lives on Wendy, apparently, and it wasn't actually David. So David ate all our grapes, which means now we're all kind of dying out here of starvation and even something just to quench our thirst. Thanks, David. No, I'm just joking. I'm just giving David trouble. It wasn't. See, even Kirsty's saying, Kirsty, it's unacceptable, isn't it? I think so. But how cool was that? That was epic. Now, I wonder, do you think Hosana would go after one of these sick buffalo? I wonder if he might. There's this very dodgy one that's walking along, and Hosana gave it a little look just now and was kind of just checking it out, and almost if to say, I might have a go at you. There's a lot of calves here, and we know Hosana has taken a calf before. Well, he was feeding on a calf. Whether or not he actually killed it is anyone's guess, but he definitely was feeding on one, so maybe he might fancy his chances as a little buffalo slayer. But Hosana, thank you for that. That was amazing. So, Joy, they can get sick if they eat meat that's contaminated with something that affects predators, but, like TB, they could pick it up. But as long as they're finding food and water, generally they can live a fairly normal life. It's when they start to go through hardships that TB can, especially in lions, can really hurt them. But for the most part, you'll find with these cats that they've got iron stomachs, or most predators have iron stomachs, and they're able to deal with a lot. It's really only if there's something like anthrax or something that's really kind of difficult for even the predators to deal with, then they might get it. But most part, no, they don't catch a lot of the diseases that antelopes have, so they don't get foot and mouth, they don't get rinderpest, they don't even anthrax to a degree. I've seen lions eat it and come off okay. It's not ideal if they do, because they then transport the spores to water points when they go drink. Hello, Hosana. Welcome. Are you a thirsty boy? You've drunk for a lot longer than I thought you were going to drink for. I thought we could have got round actually in the time that he's been drinking, but very cool. Tweet. Well, I'm not sure. I mean, you say that this is proof that Hosana is stalking me and following me, but I don't know. Maybe, I suppose. His tracks kind of indicated he was coming this way. It's why we came here, is in the hope that he might have made an appearance, and so it's perfect that he did. I think we're just in the right place at the right time. But he's definitely stalking the limelight more than anything else. I mean, he keeps finding James as well when James is live. So I think he's just a camera-hungry person, or camera-hungry leopard at this stage. Shame, Hosana, are you thirsty, boy? Because you have not stopped drinking. Oh, look at that face. Isn't that so cool? Now, the light from the other side on those golden eyes, those orange eyes he's got, must be absolutely amazing. Now, spending time with Hosana over the last little bit has been absolutely amazing. But while we were sitting with him and he's drinking, I was just thinking about some other leopard updates that some of you may be interested in particularly our other little golden boy, which is Tamba, who was seen yesterday and again this morning. Now, he was not seen on Nkoro, so as much as everybody thinks that it was on Nkoro traverses a number of different properties, and so he was actually seen on very, very, very far to the west. He was seen on the Elephant Plains Ottawa boundary, where he had a kill, and then what happened was at the kill, Insele arrived. So Insele is the daughter of Salahesh, and she arrived, and then apparently an unknown male from Ottawa that's been hanging around also arrived there and chased him off it, and he ended up losing it to that unknown male. He then went down, and he's now kind of moved in a southeasterly direction from where that was onto a road called Rhino Midden, which basically is just on the southwestern side of Elephant Plains Airstrip. So if any of you have a map and want to know where that is, just look for the Elephant Plains Airstrip. That's where he is at the moment. And so he kind of spent his day in that area, which is great news. And then Tiani is mating with Hukamuri, which is also good news. It's always good when there's mating going on, and Tiani will be a continuation of Salaesh's legacy, so that will be quite nice as well. Look at his tail just lifting as he goes past the Franklins. How beautiful is that? Hosana, you're a beautiful boy. A buffalo just grunting in the distance. I wonder if he's going to follow these buffalo. I have a funny feeling he's thinking about it. This will be very, very interesting. I don't know. It's a tough hunt for him. I mean, a buffalo is not a small animal in any way, and in herds they can be quite difficult to bring down, but he might be eyeing out one of these sick buffalo and thinking, maybe, just maybe, I might be able to do it. Although he'll have a full belly and won't really need to go and get food. So Lewis, the lions are far. The lions are nowhere near where he is. They are, to give you an idea, from here would be probably about 1 kilometer away from where we are now. So what's that in a mile? Like, I don't know, just under a mile away, which doesn't sound like... Actually, it's more. From where we are here is probably closer to almost 2 kilometers. If I think about where Sebastian flies his drone, this is going to be spectacular at sunset, because while the sun is setting just now, we should be able to get it to set right behind him at some point. It's going to be difficult now because the sun is very bright, but just now, that sun should dip right behind him and we should get a silhouetted version of Hosana with a big, big, big bright orange sun. The only problem is this gleaming buffalo thorn that is off to my left-hand side is going to be quite difficult to deal with, because the sun is going to just probably miss Hosana unless I park where the buffalo thorn is, which is not going to work. So we're going to have to try and think about this a little bit. But isn't that pretty? Our silhouetted cat against a very bright sun. Right, now while we admire Hosana, who's sitting on top of his bank enjoying the sunset, let's send you back across to Steve, who's got some beautiful impalas in the golden light.
Yes, we do. Well, from Hosana's favourite watering hole, now he is at Buffelshoek. Maybe it's because the buffalo are there. We know he likes himself a little bit of beef from time to time. Well, these impala are quite happy in the knowledge that I've just passed to them, that the little chief is not in attendance. He is all the way in the northeast. So one more will come down and have a drink. They're still tentative. They always look at water as if there's something in there willing to snatch at them, as we've seen a couple of impala in the last few weeks at Chitwa getting munched by crocodiles. They always look at the water very untrustingly. They know that they need it, but coming down to get it is always a difficult task. See how tentative they are, and then all at once they'll move in en masse to have a drink at the same time. See how they push their toes forward. Robin, yes, it is absolutely gorgeous. See, they're going to all come down now as a large group. See how they push their toes forward. They just stretching their neck as far as they possibly can. Is there something lurking in the green waters? You never know. Anything 50 kilometers from a crocodile-infested water source could have crocodiles in it. But the numbers game means that if you come out like this, there's a good chance, statistically, it won't be you. That Nyala coming down in the zone could make a really, really big problem. Jessica, how long is the impala rut? Well, in May, it is 1 month. And then now, I would assume it's a similar sort of 1 month. I don't know too much about it. It's not something that really features all the time. It kind of fits in. A few females are pregnant. The males go a little bit crazy. But it must be another sort of between the full moon sort of cycles. Everything does sort of move in cycles. So I would assume it's a similar length, but not as intense as the one we get in May. That one is have all the impalas going absolutely ballistic. The females all in estrus and the males are fighting for dominance. Now, there's a little bit of argy-bargy, but there's not as many pheromones in the air to make... Here he comes. Here he comes at the back. Just to spoil a very pleasant cup of tea by the watering hole, comes in to herd them around and sort them out. He doesn't even have time to drink. In the rutting season, these males really just forget about absolutely everything except for what the pheromones are providing in the air. Well, I can see Hosanna. He is liking his pose on the dam wall. Let's go see how pretty he is in the golden light.
Well, it doesn't get any better than what Hosanna is doing right now. It's about as good as one could ever ask for from a leopard, sitting almost eye level with us, enjoying the last of the sun's rays coming down, watching the buffalo in the distance. It really is a spectacular sighting to have of him. It is thoroughly enjoyable to have him sitting the way he is. I don't think we could ask for anything more than this, to be honest. I think we've pretty spoilt having this boy around again in this area. He really is a beautiful cat, and like I said, that last little bit of sun's rays that are coming down, unfortunately we can't get the sun right behind him. We checked. There's a buffalo thorn tree just to the back right of him that will block the sun completely, or block us should I say, and we won't be able to actually see him or the sun. So we've come around instead to get this very different view of him, which is this kind of low angle that we can get, which is absolutely beautiful. Right, now we've got one leopard, but James apparently has got two.
They're in there somewhere. Oh, lovely shot there of a vehicle. Fantastic. We've got Thandi and Tlalamba, and so I've got to tell you, it's something of a relief to me to see Tlalamba. I didn't think after this morning that she would have been damaged, but there was always that fear, of course, when Thandi called and Tlalamba didn't pitch up. Anyway, very cleverly found by Aubrey this afternoon. Aubrey, of course, is a guide at Vuyatela, and so we will do our level best now to get into a position where we can see beautiful Thandi and Tlalamba. They are just in front of us here, heading towards a termite mound. We'll try and get through some rather dodgy vegetation. There we go, a nice little track here. They might pop out onto that termite mound. No, they've just gone straight round it. Very inconvenient of them. There we go, onto the termite mound. Romit, no, I don't think so. I mean, I think we learn about leopard behavior all the time. Oh, we're going to get a lovely shot here. If I can just... There, how's that, Craigus? All right? You know, leopard behavior is not something that ever seems to sit on much of a textbook timetable, if you like. And so I think Hosanna's behavior is odd, baffling. I think to anybody who spent time around leopards, they'd say no, because almost always you're learning new things about the way leopards behave. And so no, I don't think they'd consider it baffling. Isn't that a nice shot of mum and daughter? And you can see very nicely there the size difference and how much the little one is growing. Now, when we got here, Aubrey and Taxon said that they had looked very afraid, like they were running from something. Like maybe, perhaps there was a male around that they were running from, but Hosanna, of course, is a long way from here. Well, they were moving at quite a speed. You can see the grumpy queen playing out her grumpiness, hissing at her daughter. She's brooking no kind of dissent at this stage, and I know that many of you, much like me, are sharing the joy of seeing little Tlalamba again. I was quite worried this morning, and Tristan's explained what happened this morning. It was quite something. There we go. Alrighty, I think we must move on now. Try and get through this next little thicket. Hold on tight, everyone. Watch your faces. Well, I'd say, you know, if this was the price we've had to pay for those gremlins earlier on, I think we're doing all right. I'm sure no one will complain. Leopards in the golden light on a termite mound, so many of them. Jed, they don't feed every day all the time. I mean, it really depends on how much they manage to kill, and So, I mean, the general rule is, I suppose you'd say, if she killed an impala, which weighs about 70 kilograms or so, adult male impala like the one she had there, she'd feed on that for 4 or 5 days and then not probably eat again for 3 or 4 days. But of course these leopards do things like kill one thing and then feed on it, and then when they're off having a drink of water or something, they have the opportunity to kill again, and so they do, and they'll put that kill in a pantry. So it's very difficult to say how often they eat. They certainly don't eat more than once a day unless they have a kill. So if she has a kill like an impala, she'll stash it in a tree, and then she will feed on it a number of times during the day. So she'll eat until she's hungry again, a bit like us, I suppose, and then she'll eat again. But basically what she'll try and do is feed as much as possible over the course of time that she has the kill with her. Craigus? No good. Let me move again. We're going to get a lovely picture of them on the termite mound again. Oh, no, are we? We're going to get a lovely picture of a vehicle. How's that? Back a bit? Forward a bit? Back. Yes, I can. For you, Craig, anything. There we go. Beautiful. Isn't that lovely? There's some serious cameras on the car next to us. It's actually quite funny. As we look at this, there's one woman with 2 or 3 bodies and 7 enormous lenses, and there's somebody else sitting next to her with a cell phone taking pictures. It's quite amusing. Dilip, we've only watched one of Tundi's cubs grow up so far, and that was young Tamba, who Tristan was talking about a little bit earlier. He's the only one of her cubs that I've known. He was, of course, in a litter of 2. We don't know what happened to his litter mate, but whoever it was didn't survive. He or she didn't survive. And that's the only one I've watched. Not from birth, though. We didn't meet Tamba until he was, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 months old. But I didn't meet Guchava until she was 4 years old. So, there we are. Yes, I think we should move around. Alrighty, while we move around here, we'll keep up with these cats as long as we can. Let's go back to Hosana, who's much more restful.
Well, I don't think we could ask for any more. He is posing right at us. He's literally, like I say, at eye level, a few meters away, just giving us the best view one could ever ask for of a cat. He really is. It is. I've always wanted to see a leopard on this dam wall like this in the afternoon light, because the afternoon light is so beautiful on this dam wall that it is an absolute treat for me to have him like this. It's so cool. It's one of my favorite things to sit at eye level with one of the big cats and just watch them. And you kind of just, it feels like you're almost standing next to him when you like this. And there's really nothing between us and him in terms of, when you look down on something, you kind of have a different feeling. But when you at the same height as them, is just something about it. And particularly with Hosana, he's just, he's such a curious cat that he kind of often locks eyes with you and looks around and checks and scans the vehicle and basically just poses in every single shape and form he possibly can. Yes, I'm talking about you. You're doing a sterling effort this evening. Look at you. Oh, he is beautiful. Oh, IH, so you're asking the old question that, are you going to come lie closer, Hosana? So now he's coming right towards us, pretty much exactly where we are. So there he's going around the kind of back end of the car. So we're going to try and kind of figure out where he wants to go. Hosana, where do you want to go? But essentially, Tamba is still my favorite. Hosana is creeping in. He's becoming naughty in that regard because I'm spending so much time with him that it's just becoming harder and harder not to just absolutely love spending hours and hours with him. But there's something about Tumba. Tumba's eyes for me are just on a whole different level. He's got these beautiful green eyes, and I don't know why. I mean, Tumba, I suppose there's a part of me that just feels sorry for him in a way that he kind of... Hosana has got away with a lot. He's ended up kind of somehow charming Tundi to a degree to allow her to be quite tolerant of him. Even last year when she was still with Tumba, she actually tolerated him more than she tolerated Tumba, and that's part of the reason why I've kind of become so fond of Tumba, is that he had a hard time as well. He's also left very young, and he hasn't had it easy, and he's somehow managed to make his way and do very well. And he didn't have a sibling either to play with or learn, so his life has been a far more lonely one than possibly what Hosana has had. Even though Hosana was abandoned at such a young age, Hosana still had Shongile for a long period of time, and it's just, I don't know, there's something about Tumba that it just captivates me. He's got to be one of the most beautiful leopards that I've had the pleasure of spending a lot of time around. I mean, Hosana's not far off. Hosana's got these beautiful orange eyes, but Tumba is just, I don't know, the green eyes and the contrast to his golden coats work so well. But they're both very, very, very special animals, and we are exceedingly fortunate that we get to spend time with these cats, let alone, a leopard in general is an amazing experience to be around, and to have one walk like Hosana just did, not even 5 meters from us, and then 1 meter around the back of the car, is a very special experience. But to have the 2 young leopards that we've had, who have been so incredible in the way that they go about their days, and they are super playful and always kind of up to something, is a very special thing. So we've been spoilt seeing these 2. It's not every leopard is not like this. There's a lot of young leopards that don't want anything to do with you, are quite skittish, quite shy, distribute away, don't really want to be seen. And so to have this is just spectacular. Right, we're going to try to keep up with him. I don't think we'll have him for too much longer, unfortunately. Where he's walking is going to be very difficult, but wow, that was a very special, very, very special sighting. Like I say, I've always wanted to see a leopard there, and to have him where he was is just absolutely amazing. Okay, well, I'm going to try and see if I can get to where he is and follow him. While we do that, let's send you back across to James, who's trying to keep up with Tundi, much like we're trying to keep up with Hosana.
We've managed to keep up with them, sort of. Going up onto the top of a termite mound there, that'll be quite nice. Let me just try and pick a decent line. So they're going from termite mound to termite mound, looking carefully at what's going on here. There we go. Oh, it's going to be useless. So many trees in the way. Anyway, there's her bottom. Her regal imperial bottom. That's Tundi's bottom, in case you were confused. Twitching her little tail from side to side, of course. She is very beautiful, and there's, again, very little in the way of birdsong. Not sure why she's flicking her tail quite like that, because there are no birds alarming at her. That's it, turn to face the setting sun. That's my girl. Beautiful. Oh, perfect. How's that? Might have to take an illegal photograph of her. Rosalind, a leopard's paw, a female leopard's paw, is about the size of a sort of average size woman's palm, I guess. Maybe a bit smaller than that. She could definitely fit into your... No, about the average size woman's palm. I'm just looking at my own palm. I'm not a very large man. I don't have unusually sized hands for a human being of my size, and I'd say a male leopard's paw would fit into my hand, into my palm. So I'm going to say into the average sized woman's palm is about the size of her pug mark. I don't know where Tlalaamba's gone. Hoping she will at some stage emerge. Just catching the last of the light on her face there. It must be said, slightly grumpy face. Now, yesterday I said one of the things that I thought made her look a bit grumpy was the fact that in a resting position, her ears don't sit forward like they do on Hosanna, for example. They always seem to be in that exact posture, which always gives her the look of being slightly irritated. I don't think is entirely inaccurate. Also, that you know what else it is? It's the fact that her eyelids are just slightly more closed. So it looks like she's scowling. There's a disdainful look of irritation on her face. I must say, I feel quite afraid sitting here. She seems to be staring at me and not at anyone else moving around here. You see what I mean, everyone? Or not? Is it too nasty to say this about a cat? No, I mean, I think they're exactly the same length proportionately as males' tails. I can't see why they would need longer ones. So I'm going to say no, I think they're exactly the same size. That's a lovely picture there of her. Like I said, I don't know where her daughter is. Maybe somewhere around here. Yeah, Julie, I know what you mean. Looks a bit like me when I run out of coffee too. Now, when you hear the dim crackle of rifle fire, it's not in fact rifles, it is the cameras behind me. Some very excited photographers. Yeah, you see, she has got droopy eyes that make her look grouchy. Beautiful. Just see the slight purpling of the sky behind her as the night starts to come in. Don't know why she would have been so sort of upset, I guess, as she moved north. Yes, leopard's tail is a very good indicator of their mood. If they're going to charge, they are very likely to be flicking it from side to side, exactly like a house cat. So you can tell if your house cat's about to make a pounce by the way its tail moves, and if it's irritated, if it's angry, if it's growling. And it's exactly what these cats do. I had a sighting with her on foot a little while back, where she had a kill. She just killed something, and we kind of stumbled on her. We backed off a bit, and she didn't think we'd seen her, and then she realized we had. And I watched the tail, and it started to flick, and I knew that she was going to just take 2 steps towards us, give us a bit of a growl, and then move away, which is obviously not what you want, either of those things. It's definitely a very good indicator. You could tell immediately from watching the tail what she was going to do. And certainly you get that from lions as well. Lionesses are very, very keen to let you know their intentions with tail flicking. You don't want the sound of a growling lioness with the tail going swack, swack, swack from side to side. That's fairly scary. Very royal now, looking out towards the northwest, contemplating the coming summer, the naughtiness of her daughter, the intrusion of her brother, the absence of her consort. We haven't seen Tingana now for a few days, nor have we seen his tracks. These are things that must pop through her mind from time to time as she navigates the difficult road that is that of a female leopard. Oh, here's the little one. He's right here. She's right here. She was stalking us.
She tells her to stay.
Yes, Teresa, it's exactly what it is. Without their claws, there was no way they'd be able to climb trees like they can. I mean, combined with very powerful shoulders and very powerful back muscles, it is absolutely their claws that allow them to climb so well. Now, Mum's gone up towards the north. The little one has decided that she's had enough of all this walking around. She's going to assert her independence once more. She seems to be doing quite a lot of that of late. And she's queen of the castle now. Yes, I suppose she is. I can see Tundi behind us there. I think let's move. No, let's not. Let's wait. Let's wait and see what happens here. I think the little one will eventually follow her. But I suspect this is how they become separated. And then Tundi becomes worried and starts calling. And possibly by the time she starts calling, the distance between them is such that the little one won't hear it. Unless Tundi's somehow indicated that this is where the cub must stay while she goes off hunting, that's possible. Jennifer, as the crow flies, they're only about, I'd say, a quarter of a mile from where the last kill is. They're really not far at all. Very close by. Yeah, Tundi's going through some thick stuff. I think we're going to stay here. I'm not going to follow Tundi because Tundi's had a bit of a rough day, so we're going to let her be, and we'll just spend a little bit more time with Tlalamba. The photographers are moving out from behind us. They are dissatisfied with the backside view of Tlalamba. Tlalamba, of course, will now turn around and face us. That is why we are going to stay precisely where we are. And I'm sure you will all understand that I'm not going to try and follow Tundi after the day that she's had. It's been a rough one for her. And just a gentle evening breeze starting to come up now, blowing around the little kitty. Still, she looking a bit anxious, but I mean, that's what a leopard does, I guess. A leopard is going to look anxious. A leopard is always going to be slightly anxious. Oh, I must just ask you, Craig, to swing your camera 180 degrees, if you wouldn't mind. There's a rather gorgeous picture of the sun there. Ah. Oh, there's an aerial in the way. Shall I move quickly? Would you like me to move? That'd be a bit better. I'll just do that. Yeah. That should be beautiful. Beautiful. Stunning. Very pretty. We get lots of these here, of course. Never gets boring for me. I've just taken an illegal picture of it. Oh, that is just stunning. The cat hasn't moved, don't worry. Still in the same place. We'll go back to her now. We are queen. We are tinggalin. Tam na velant lantla. Jan die. Yeah. I'm just talking to Tex on there, telling him about the lions and where they were. All right, I think what we're going to do is leave this kitty here because I feel like they've had a rough day, and I think that we should go and see if those lions manage to get up, because nobody's with them at the moment.
Well, I'm not sure about lions, but Hassan is definitely not awake at all. The lions, I think, are still far from where we are. We've managed to find Hassan now just on his termite mound, sleeping with that beautiful backdrop, and the sun would have been perfect. Had he sat on the dam wall in a certain spot, we would have got this blazing red sun, as I'm sure you saw with James, right behind his head, which would have been very cool. But sometimes, you don't win them all, and we've won very much this afternoon. To think that there's a pride of lions sitting unattended by us at the moment because, well, we're sitting with cats coming out of our ears is a very special thing, and we need to kind of cross our fingers and thank our lucky stars and do anything that involves good luck other than being pooed on by a bird, because we've been very, very, very lucky over the last few weeks to be able to actually see what we've been seeing, and hopefully it will continue. Hassan has brought about a wholesale change on Djuma, and that since his arrival it seems as though everybody wants to come back. We've had the Nkuhumas coming back a lot. He's been around. Tandi and Kalamba have been active and seen them a lot with him. Tingana's been back in full force. Shadulu's been around. So, it's been kind of, Hassan has been a catalyst for just, I don't know if it's just him, but it's obviously we see him most, and there's been so many sightings involving other animals with him that I feel like maybe he brings good vibes to the area, and that's why we've been having such good luck. It's very, very cool to see, and it's been amazing that, and probably the best part about it is that we've had pretty much all of our presenters have actually had amazing sightings of late, which is always so nice, because sometimes we have, times and periods where someone will have a bad run and not see much, and the other one will see all the kind of good sightings. And so to have what we've had, where Sydney's had amazing drives, Steve has had epic stuff, James, and even I've had amazing stuff. So it's been so good that it's been kind of spread across the board for all of us, and we've just kind of continued with this epic leopard streak that we're on, and long may it last. It's certainly not any complaints from me, that's for sure. Romit, I'm afraid not. There's been no word on Sindile for quite some time. Difficult to say where he could be. He's obviously was quite skittish after the whole incident. I mean, there was times where people saw him, and I know I've seen kind of comments and discussions on Sindile on various platforms, and people have obviously expressed their opinions. And I was just reading some the other day where people were saying, if he was so skittish, then why was he seen just before the last time that he was seen looking fairly relaxed? Well, there was quite a simple reason for that, is that there was a carcass around, and so anytime a leopard has food, sometimes that drive to eat outweighs that nervousness, and so if you sit for a long period of time with the leopard, then you will get a view of them eventually as they come in to feed. So he's still not trusting of vehicles, and given that nobody was actively tracking him and finding him regularly, hello Hassan, welcome. He probably has just gotten more skittish as time has gone on, and has realized that he can evade people by being that way. And so he's then gone into parts of Kruger, and might even still be running around the Sabi Sands, but I have a funny feeling he's in parts of Kruger and is just doing his thing. The other thing with him is that he was a young male that wasn't territorial. Now, when territorial males come in, or when they establish themselves, that's often when they will become a lot more relaxed. When they are still young and nomadic, they can sometimes be a little bit kind of unsure of themselves, and they try and stay away from cars because they don't want attention brought to them. Especially if they don't know which males are around, then they often try and slink and kind of move through undetected. As soon as they feel like they are dominant and they are basically mating and taken over, then you'll find that they tend to be a little bit more relaxed in their movements. And Tingana is a prime case for that. When he arrived, he was a skittish male that didn't want anything to do with vehicles, and it took a few times of mating with various females. I remember one time actually coming around a corner, and he was mating with, I can't remember if it was in Sele or Salehesh, one of the two of them, and he got such panicked look on his face, mid-mate, stopped and just ran. And this poor female was left there with her tail up, just kind of thinking to herself, what's going on? He hasn't completed the job, and he was gone. We couldn't find him again. We followed her, and she was calling him. Nothing. He didn't come back. So it gives you an idea of how skittish they can be when they want to be. And we also know from Tundi and Tlalamba, if she doesn't want to be found, we won't find her. We can try our luck all day long, and even with the very best trackers in the form of Herbie, he won't. Some days just won't be able to find her because she just doesn't want to be found at all. And so if Sindile is like that, then it's very difficult. Also, he could have distributed into those massive blocks in Kruger that we've discussed many times about many of our leopards, where there's areas that are 4 or 5 times the size of the Sabi Sands with not a single road going through them. And you work out the density of leopard in the Sabi Sands, you can very quickly realize how you can be in one of those and never ever see the light of a road or a vehicle or anything like that. So it's possible that he's still around. It's one of those difficult things. There's also the Kruger is not monitored like the Sabi Sands is. I mean, we obviously drive out here every single day. We have small blocks that we work. We know where the cats go. We track them. We're on foot. Kruger doesn't work like that. It's it's big, vast tracts of land that are not even explored at all on a day-to-day basis, and so very easily could just disappear in amongst all of that. But difficult to say. I mean, it's obviously we have kind of a lot of people that hope that he gets seen, and I'm one of them. It was always nice to see where one of our leopards turns up. So Sindile, even the likes of Sakani, and obviously we think about Shongile too, potentially showing up somewhere as well. So it'd be nice, but I mean, there's no updates on him, to be honest. That was a long-winded answer for no update. What do you think, David? It sounds good. Okay, good. All right. Well, a good answer. Thank you, Kirsty. Thank you very much. I tried my very best. Guys, what I think we're going to do is, I know this is a risky maneuver, but I'm going to think about possibly leaving Hosana now for the simple reason that I might head off to the Nkuhumas if James is still with Tundi and Tlalamba, just because those buffalo were moving southwards a little bit, and maybe the Nkuhumas... so James is on his way to the line. So that's fine, Kirsty. That's no problem. You see, we both think alike. James has just beaten me to the punch here today. But that's fine. We'll stay with Hosana. We'll see what he does. And I just thought if James wasn't going to be at the lines, it would have made sense for one of us to go. So given that Hosana is a sleepy kitty on top of the mound, then we might as well go there. But anyway, it doesn't matter. James is on his way there. So let's go across to him and see what he thinks the lions are going to do this evening.
I think they're going to do very little until about 2 minutes before we go off air, whereupon I think they might think about getting up. That is the way of lions. They are uncooperative in this part of the world, I would say. I also think that they're going to head probably towards Torchwood, so that's towards the east and northeast. If they pick up any sound or sign of those buffalo that Tristan had earlier. Of course, that is their most favoured food. And I think if they knew there was a herd there, they'd probably be on their way now. It's interesting, old Steve had them with a kudu coming close to them today, and they were already slumbering. But I was struck again by the thought of how few times in all of my years of guiding I've seen them eating kudu. It really is not something that I see a lot. We see them on buffalo, giraffe relatively frequently. I'm sure I've often seen them having a go at impala, wildebeest, zebra, but not kudu. It's fascinating. They're crossing in front of us. You'll just see Taxon because he is cleverer than me and picked a shorter route. Now we are going to inhale some dust on the way there. Pauline, yes, sometimes they do leave the pride to go and mate with the male. They'll hear the males calling, go and seek them out. The males will also seek them out if they smell there's a lioness and estrus, and once they pair off and the rest of the pride moves off, then the mating pair will normally hang around. So it is entirely possible that they could pair off and then, leave the pride. Francis, it could be Amber Eyes that's out mating, I don't know. Most likely that she's coming into estrus. She's the one who hasn't got any offspring amongst those 6. We don't know, I don't think, exactly who's got offspring amongst the 6 youngsters. It's quite possible that all other 4 lionesses have got 1 at least. But it would be very nice to see some new little cubbies. As I always say, a lion cub is unquestionably the cutest thing out here in the bush. Yes, it does even pip a leopard cub, just slightly, but it does. Hippo babies quite close. Those three things, I think, are very cute. As adults, of course, bush babies are the obvious winner. Yeah, baby elephants are certainly up there in the top 5. There's something about a baby lion that is just too adorable, too edible. You know when something's so adorable you want to eat it? You know what I mean? Or squeeze it. Yes, that's right. Brent called them delicious monsters. I think that's probably a pretty good description. Delicious monsters. We're not far now. They're just around the next corner. It's just a question of whether or not my lungs can cope with inhaling this much dust before we get there. You're right there, Craig. Your teeth are looking a bit dark. Yes. Because of the dust, you see. No one's obviously feeling any sympathy for me whatsoever. Yes, Teresa, baby hyenas are also cute. I mean, there are lots of cute things. I'm not saying that anything isn't cute, but for me, the top of the cuteness scales, or the top of the cuteness ladder, is a baby lion. Right, they're just in here. Or they were just in here, in this quarry thicket. Are they here still, is the question. Yes, they are. Flat on their backs. What a surprise. I'm absolutely gobsmacked. I expected them to be up and doing a gymnastics course. Absolutely amazing. Haven't moved. Yes, once or twice I've had lions charge at us, normally irritated males who are either mating or in the process of a territorial takeoff or takeover in. Let's see if we can't get you a nice picture this side. I'd actually get all of them if I am very clever and very nervous. Ooh, I believe Hosanna is now possibly about to bite off some too much to chew.
Right, he is watching and awake, and the reason is that he's got some other visitors this afternoon. So we've had buffalo, we've had leopard, and now we've got another member of the Big Five coming to Buffelshoek Dam in the form of a beautiful herd of ellies. Isn't that beautiful? So he's just watching as the ellies go past. I wonder if maybe that's why he moved off the dam wall earlier, as he heard them coming, because they would have disturbed him on the dam wall. Where he is now, he doesn't have to worry at all. He's able to just sit and enjoy the fact that they are just coming past slowly, going to go for an afternoon drink. Interestingly, though, with this herd of ellies, is it's all young ones in front here. There's no adults that I can see yet. These are all teenage elephants. There's no big females as yet. Even that one is probably, I would say, no older than 13, 14 years old. And it's missing a tip of its tail. Look, you see that? Have we seen one missing the tip of its tail around? Because that one is very stumpy. That's very cool. I wonder what happened to it. Maybe hyenas snacked it and got hold of it and took that tail when it was still a little baby. But how cool is that? Elephant on one side, beautiful male leopard who is looking as big as he's ever looked. I mean, look at how wide his shoulders are looking. His eyes are sort of still that orange color, and he's just looking sublime up there with the setting sun colors in the background. That kind of dawn belt that is, I mean, not dawn, dusk belt that you get at the late afternoons. It's absolutely beautiful. Very, very cool. It's amazing to kind of see this and to think, like I say, that between ellies and leopard and buffalo, we haven't had to go very far at all. It's been an absolutely cracking drive sitting at Buffelshoek Dam. Don't you agree, Hosanna? No, you're looking quite wide-eyed at the fact that ellies are approaching. There comes some of the females now. They're slowly but surely starting to come through the bush. I can see one big female that's arriving. Very surprised by that behavior. Generally, when elephants go to water, they do not go unless the female is right in front, in case there's something like a pride of lions lying there. So I'm surprised by these ellies arriving, and we've got a lot of females to come because there was a lot of youngsters that came through there, so there's going to be a lot of ellies that are going to file past. And I wonder if it's the same herd that I actually saw on my way home this morning. There's one that's got a tusk that grows under the trunk. She gave Steve a bit of a hard time the other day, and we had her on our last TV show. They appeared in the overtime section for it. So it's a herd that's been hanging around the last few days. A nice big herd, probably easily 30 individuals. Wow, what an afternoon. Been thoroughly spoilt once again down in Djuma. It's been a bumper day, that's for sure. It's kind of been non-stop actually since this morning. It started with Steve with the lions and then all the way through. MGN, yes, this termite mound in all likelihood could be live. They do sit on termite mounds that have termites in them, and the reason they would is because, well, termites, even if they're inside on a warmish afternoon, they're not going to be out and about messing around. And it's very difficult for them to be out during the day because birds eat them. So most of the time it's at night. So during the day the leopards can go and lie on top of them. As long as they don't lie over the entrance, they generally are actually quite fine to use the termite mound. So you do see it pretty regularly that they are up there and using mounds, and even if the termites are actually inside and building and doing their thing. Absolutely amazes me though how quiet those ellies are. They've just ghosted past us, gone down to the dam, and I cannot hear them drinking at all. They must be just sipping slowly, little relaxed afternoon drink, much like somebody would sip their gin and tonic in the late evening. Now Hassan is tired of the ellies. They've obviously not as interesting, and so while we watch him sleep away the last of the light, that sends you back across to James and the lions, who hopefully are starting to wake up.
Well, they are starting to wake up. We had a rather amusing incident there. This youngster here just came and walked over and flopped down straight onto the glassy-eyed female. She's got that purple eye, that one there. And she got a nasty kind of growl, so she slid off what is quite possibly her mother. And then her mother bit her on the shoulder, quite gently. It wasn't a vicious bite at all, but it was quite amusing. Justin, no, not talking in sleep. I've seen lions hunting in their sleep, definitely. I assume you are joking, Justin. You know lions don't speak, don't you? You know that they don't speak when they're awake or they're asleep. I'm assuming you know that. We're going to start off with that as your base knowledge. And I will tell you that they do dream, definitely, and you can see them sort of, they growl sometimes and go as they're asleep, and their ears flicker and their tails go up and down, and they get little shudders in their limbs, and I'm pretty sure that means that they're dreaming. Yes, dreamy, aren't you, my dear? Yes. You are not cute anymore, I'm afraid. You might be impressive, but cute you are not. Now you can see that the teeth on that lioness definitely getting blunt. Some some growling and a bit of play behaviour even from the older cats. This one's now going to be lain upon. Yes. That makes them look quite endearing, I suppose. And flicking tails. See all the grooming going on now. Lizzie, they don't purr. They don't have the capability to purr. The big cats, except for Cheetah. So they all growl at each other, but their voice boxes are designed differently, and so they're unable to purr. They can growl and shout very loudly, but purring is not something they're able to do. Cheetah do purr definitely, and I've heard caracal purring. Caracal are sort of the size of lynxes. They're the African version of the lynx, if you like. They definitely purr. I'm pretty sure that the servals and other smaller wild cats can purr, but not these big ones. So tigers, jaguars, lions, leopards, and I'm missing one, aren't I? Tigers, jaguars, lions, leopards, anything belonging to the genus Panthera. I think that's probably it. They can't purr. I've got no idea about snow leopards. Sorry about my audio, I moved my hat, everybody. Now this little process of waking up will take another, I'm going to say 40 minutes or so. What will happen is that they will eventually get up, start to move, go to the loo, and then they'll lie down and sleep for another 20 minutes. And so I suspect we probably won't see them doing too much this evening. Just this yawning, cleaning, and then you see they drop off again. That's the young male who's fast asleep. It's unsurprising, of course. A male teenager is even more tired, generally, than a guide. Aaron, I don't think that the full moon is something that affects these animals hugely, other than to make it difficult for them to hunt. It obviously makes it difficult for the lions to hunt in the full moon. It's much easier for them to hunt when it's dark, and obviously the animals out here have very good eyesight. Their prey species have very good eyesight, and so they are able to see them coming in the light of a full moon. Does it have any hormonal effect on them? I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah, we're going to go into infrared now. There it is. Isn't that amazing? We're now in infrared. Or infra black and white. One of them has inhaled a small piece of guarri leaf and is now sneezing. It's a very slow process of waking up, isn't it? Wild animals that snore, the one that most clearly comes to mind for me, Raj, is the rhino. Rhino definitely snore. And if you're tracking them in the middle of the day and you're going towards a muddy pan in the heat of the day, you can often hear them going. And that is their lips flapping on the mud. Conrad says bush pigs can snore as well. I didn't know that. Trubshaw, our dog, could snore. I'm not sure if I've ever heard a lion snore. I may have heard a leopard snore. I have heard a lion snore. I've heard a male lion snore. Of course, a lioness doesn't snore in the same way that no woman snores. Not so. No woman snores or burps at all. Such things do not occur with the feminine. She's not agreeing with me, you can see that. I'm trying to think of other animals that I've heard snoring. No, otherwise I think it's probably just humans. And you know what? I bet you'll find that it's got a lot to do, again, with our lifestyles. Things we eat, clogged up sinuses from pounding them full of gluten and pollution and that sort of thing. I don't think I've heard baboons snore. I'm trying to think of our closest relatives out here. Yeah, I don't think baboons or monkeys snore. A couple getting up down through the little tunnel of guarri bushes. We're perfectly positioned. They're coming towards us. Look at this, Craig. Don't be nervous. I don't think they see us as prey. Peanut butter patty. Do lions have 9 lives? Yes, of course they do. I mean, I think they have 10 or 12, actually. That's hilarious. What just ran past me? Oh no, it was an insect that flew past. That's very funny. Do they have 9 lives? No, just one. Peanut butter patty, I'm afraid. All cats, dogs, termites, lions, human beings. One life only. Use it bravely. Alright, Hosanna is sleeping on a termite mound. These lions are getting up. Let's go and cross and see if Hosanna will do the same thing. That's very sweet.
Well, at this stage, no, he's very sleepy. More elephants came past and he didn't move, but we just put a light on just quickly while he's sleeping because the background coloration with him is absolutely beautiful. And I wanted you just to see what we're getting to see out here in real life. It is astounding. I mean, we should really be in our IR right now, but it's just that background color with him kind of in the foreground. It's almost a perfect little desktop picture for a computer, isn't it? If he put his head up, it would be perfect. But if he did put his head up, I would turn the light off. It's just that his eyes are closed. That's why I didn't feel kind of too worried about putting the light on. It's also just the soft side lights that are quite diffused, so they're not a spotlight. They're basically a flood, so they just throw light quite wide, which is pretty good. So I don't have to worry too much about his eyes at this stage. But how beautiful is that? Is that not a incredible scene for a winter's day? We were just talking, David and I, how magic this afternoon has been. The weather is absolutely perfect. It's such a nice temperature. It feels like spring, actually. It doesn't feel like winter at all. It feels perfect temperature. Neither of us have jackets on at all, and there's this beautiful kind of orange sky in the background. It's crisp, kind of clear afternoon. It doesn't feel too dusty because we had a bit of that rain lately, so it's just a perfect day in Africa. And to have a leopard on a mound with that backdrop, it doesn't get much better. I suppose it would be nice if he was in a tree with that backdrop. We're going to be choosy now. Might as well say that, but it is very pretty. Right, well, I think we're going to leave Hosanna now. We're going to let him carry on napping. I might just go and see what the Ellies are up to. While we do that, let's send you back across to James and the Nkuhuma Pride, who I'm hoping are going to get up 2 minutes before the end.
Well, they're certainly up and giving themselves a bit of a groom. We had a little bit of a contretemps. There was a bit of a fight between two of them. One got too close to the other, who wasn't quite awake enough yet to be with the lion in that close proximity, and so it got a bit growly and upset. But this is exactly what I said would happen, you see now. Some of them got up, had a clean, and they've gone straight back to sleep. They'll doze for another 20 minutes or so. Craig, that line is through there. Look, they're up. She's looking at something. Sarah, yes, I think the cameramen probably do get scared from time to time, probably mainly as a result of bad presenters driving. I've certainly created a lot of fear through my driving. I think that they take their a lot of these guys have been out here for many years now, and so their understanding of the animal behavior out here is such that they know if there is something to fear. But the new guys just take their cue from the presenters. So if we start wailing and screaming and running away, well, then I suspect they'd probably do the same thing. Craig, you don't get scared very often, do you? Craig's a bit of an adrenaline junkie, though. He is Batman, of course. Let's not forget that. Old Batters is scared of nothing. Must be nice, Batters, to be scared of nothing. A bit of stick eating going on in front of us now. There are two of them looking into the bush, but I don't know. I suppose it could be a duiker, maybe going out for an evening forage. It's going to get a nasty fright if it comes wandering through here. It will be no more than an hors d'oeuvre for the Nkuhuma Pride. Siobhan, this is around about the time you'd kind of expect them to go hunting. It's not mainly in the evening necessarily. They'll hunt throughout the night. They'll sometimes hunt in the day. In the Mara, they hunt a lot during the day, especially at this time of year. But no, it is entirely possible that they would hunt now. They'd get up now, head off into the darkness, see what they could find, possibly have a long snooze in the middle of the night, and then wake up again just before dawn and go hunting then. There is no exact science to it, though. The most predictable it became for me was when I was in the Mara and we were in the throes of the migration, and what I found with the lions there was that they got up as the sun went down. They went to find a herd of wildebeest and see what they could catch, and then they would do nothing for the rest of the night unless a herd came very close to them, in which case they'd probably kill again, and then in the morning they'd be doing nothing. Now that's not a rule, but it was the most common thing that I saw while I was there. Here, I think it's fairly random. There are definitely more nocturnal hunters here than there are diurnal hunters. Most of their killing as proper darkness falls. So, let's say 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and then we'll probably have a bit of a snooze. And if they don't kill, they'll probably keep going for a while and then maybe get up again before dusk, before dawn. But remember, a lion sleeps for 20 hours of the day, 18 to 20 hours, which means it has only got 4 to 6 hours to play around with. And so even if they got up now, you wouldn't expect them to be moving around much after midnight. All right, everybody, that's going to be it for this beautifully cat-filled sunset safari. We will see you tomorrow again at 6:30 in the morning. Until then, I hope that you have a wonderful evening or afternoon wherever you are. Thank you for your questions and comments. We'll see you in the morning. Bye-bye.